Have you ever felt a strange heaviness around certain people? Even when they smile at you, even when they call you a friend, there are companions whose presence seems warm, but whose intentions are cold. They echo your words, applaud your progress, and walk beside you not out of honor, but out of advantage. And when your strength threatens their comfort, their loyalty dissolves into silence. The Stoics taught us to judge not by appearances, but by effects, and Machiavelli saw clearly what many refuse to admit, that the greatest threat to a man does not come from those who oppose him openly, but from those who pretend to support him while quietly standing in the way. In this journey, we will uncover the 3 most dangerous types of false friends, not to fill you with suspicion, but to offer you clarity. Because peace is not built by trusting everyone, it is built by seeing clearly. So take a breath and stay with me. What you're about to hear may change the way you trust forever. 1. The 3 masks of false friendship. So how do you recognize them? How do you spot the ones who wear masks so well that even your instincts hesitate? The answer lies in observing patterns, not words. And the first pattern you must look for is quiet envy disguised as support. Let's begin with the silent competitor. 1. The silent competitor. Envy's hidden sting. There is a kind of friend who never raises their voice against you, who never directly undermines your path. Yet somehow, your spirit always senses something subtle in their silence. These are the ones who smile when you fail and say little when you rise. They sit beside you when you're struggling, but when you begin to ascend, they slowly drift into the shadows, unable to celebrate what they cannot possess. Their words are kind, but delayed, their praise faint and cold. In moments when you should be surrounded by support, they offer silence instead. This is not hatred, it is envy disguised as friendship. From a Stoic perspective, envy is the antithesis of reason. It is the inability to accept another's fortune as part of the natural order, as if someone else's gain diminishes one's own worth. But envy never stays hidden. It mutates into subtle sabotage. They may reroute conversations that should highlight your work. They may nudge others to question your intentions. They will not confront you directly. That would require honesty. Instead, they wait for you to stumble, wait for the tide to turn. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the behavior of others belongs to them, not to us. But that does not mean we must keep those who act with hidden poison close to our table. If someone consistently dims in your light, do not beg them to shine with you. Respect their nature and release them from your life. Keep only those who rise when you rise, who cheer when you triumph, who stand beside you without comparison. Because a friend who competes with you in secret is not a friend. They are a threat in disguise, and a man who seeks clarity must not mistake quiet resentment for quiet loyalty. 2. The perpetual victim, pity's draining leash. There is another kind, even harder to recognize, because they do not come to take with open hands, but with wounded hearts. The perpetual victim always suffers, always struggles, always needs something. They do not demand with force, but with helplessness. And you, being a person of strength and compassion, feel obligated to carry them. At first you offer support willingly, you listen, you advise, you give, but slowly their needs multiply and your strength begins to dwindle. From the outside, it appears noble to help endlessly, but the Stoics warned us not to confuse compassion with submission. True virtue is not allowing another to consume your life in the name of care. When someone makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, when they paint your peace as selfishness and your distance as betrayal, you are no longer helping them, you are enabling them. They place their entire burden at your feet, but never once ask how you are carrying your own. Seneca said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." But the perpetual victim makes you smaller so they can remain comfortable. They depend on your strength, but never invest in their own. And when your energy runs dry, when you can no longer hold them up, they will not reflect. They will accuse. They will claim you abandoned them. Though they were never walking beside you, they were being carried. A Stoic does not abandon empathy. But empathy must have boundaries. If someone repeatedly asks for your fire but never brings wood to the flame, let them sit in their own cold. Life is already difficult without adopting the struggles of those who refuse to rise. Help the willing, but never become a permanent crutch for the unwilling. Your time, your focus, your well-being must be guarded. That is not cruelty. It is discipline, and it is how you ensure your own strength is not lost in someone else's unwillingness to grow. 3. The shapeshifter. Loyalty's false mask. Then there is the most dangerous kind, not because they shout or criticize or challenge you openly. No, the shapeshifter is polite, agreeable, flexible. They adapt so well that you begin to believe their kindness is real. They echo your values in your presence, only to change colors in the company of others. They will defend your name to your face, then remain silent or complicit when others tear it down. They nod when you speak, but behind closed doors, their allegiance shifts with the wind. To the Stoic, this is a violation of integrity. Consistency of character is the foundation of virtue, and someone who changes their face to suit the moment is not trustworthy. They do not serve truth. They serve convenience. Loyalty, to them, is not a virtue, it is a mask. And they wear it not because they believe in you, but because it suits them for now. You will not notice their betrayal in dramatic gestures. It will come in fragments, a story that reaches you through someone else, a shift in tone, a subtle exclusion, until one day, the trust you gave so freely reveals itself to be misplaced, and the hand you thought was holding yours is the same one that reaches for the knife. The Stoics believed that a man must build his life on what is stable, and trust, once cracked, cannot be the foundation of any meaningful bond. If someone cannot be the same person in every room, they are not safe to bring into your own. Character is not proven in loyalty when things are easy, but in silence, in absence, in the spaces where they have nothing to gain. And a friend who adjusts their allegiance depending on who is watching is not a friend at all. They are a hazard waiting to unfold. So be clear, be calm, but be decisive. If someone's presence causes you to question your peace, your worth, or your clarity, let them go. The price of keeping them is the very empire you are trying to build, and that is too costly. Now that you've seen the 3 masks of false friendship, the question is no longer who they are, but what you will do next. Because seeing the truth is only half the battle, the other half is the courage to act on it. In the next section, we'll explore how to respond, not with noise or confrontation, but with the calm decisiveness that only the Stoic mind can master. 2. The discipline of clarity. The presence of these 3 types of false friends is not an accident, it is a necessary trial, a test of how clearly you see and how firmly you act. Most people fail this test not because they lack awareness, but because they lack courage. They confuse history with harmony. They believe that time served equals trust earned. But as the Stoics and Machiavelli both knew, time is not proof of loyalty. It is only a mirror for who someone has chosen to be across seasons. And if their presence now makes your vision weaker, no past moment can justify keeping them. Power, as both philosophies teach, is not about control over others, but about control over yourself. That includes the ability to remove anyone who clouds your clarity. This is not cruelty, it is precision. Like a soldier sharpening his blade before battle, you must learn to cut without hesitation. Do not wait for another excuse. Do not demand apologies. Do not hold counsel with confusion. You already know, you feel it in your spirit when someone no longer belongs in your path. You feel the drain in your energy, the dulling of your instincts, the subtle shift in your own discipline when they are near. That feeling is the signal, and once the truth is seen, the decision must be made with silence, not noise. You do not need to justify your exit. You do not need to argue. Your absence speaks louder than any accusation. Let them feel the weight of what is no longer available to them, not as revenge, but as revelation. They may accuse you. They may cry fairness. They may recite memories and claim sacrifice, but that is not loyalty speaking. That is attachment trying to survive. Guilt is the chain they could not fasten while you stayed, so they throw it harder when you try to walk free. Do not pick it up. Do not look back. Walk with discipline. Because the one who rises is not the one surrounded by the most people, but the one protected by the clearest silence. 3. The weight that weakens you. There is a subtle kind of betrayal that does not come with anger or confrontation, but with warmth. It looks like friendship. It sounds like encouragement, but underneath, it holds you back. These are not enemies in disguise. They are companions of convenience who do not hate your growth, but fear what it means for their comfort. When you begin to rise, when your focus sharpens and your confidence deepens, they do not meet you there. Instead, they gently pull. They say you're working too hard, that you should slow down, that you're taking things too seriously, and while their words sound like care, they are often a quiet attempt to keep you within reach, as the Stoics taught. Virtue is the discipline to move toward your nature, regardless of external approval. And Machiavelli would remind you that the one who urges rest while you build is not neutral. He is anchoring you to his own inertia. There is nothing wrong with rest. But when rest is prescribed by someone who fears your momentum, it is not a gift, it is a trap. This form of dependency is not dramatic, it is subtle. These people appear loyal, they show up when you are lost or broken, but when you begin to stand tall, they vanish. Or worse, they smile while quietly dulling your edge. They may call it balance, but what they seek is safety, not yours. Theirs. Your discipline, your ambition, your refusal to settle exposes what they have not cultivated within themselves. And rather than rise to meet you, they attempt to keep you where they last felt comfortable. The Stoic knows that alignment matters more than history. Just because someone has walked beside you does not mean they belong in your future. Watch who disappears when you level up. Watch who jokes when you speak with vision. Watch who seems threatened by your strength, even as they call themselves supportive. These are not friends. They are weights, and you must let go. Because what they call connection, the wise man sees as chains that must be broken if you are ever to walk in freedom. 4. The fox's vision. There is a reason the Stoics trained themselves to observe rather than to react. And Machiavelli, though cut from a colder cloth, understood this too. If you want to master your environment, do not speak, watch. Ask yourself with honest stillness, who in your life celebrates you when you rise? Who goes quiet when you win? Who only reaches out when they need something? Who turns your ambition into a joke, your discipline into a flaw? These are not small questions. They are signals. And the man who dares to follow them will uncover the quiet enemies he once called friends. You are not meant to confront these people. That is not strength. That is indulgence. The wise man, like the fox, studies with precision. He makes no declarations. He exposes no strategy. He simply sees and then acts without noise. When you find the ones who dull your edge, who soften your purpose, who cloud your clarity, You do not owe them a speech. You owe yourself distance. Quiet, complete, unexplainable distance, because a ruler does not justify the removal of threats. He removes them and keeps walking. Most of these people will not appear dangerous. In fact, many are kind. They are charming, generous, funny, even nostalgic. But a man must never confuse familiarity with fitness. A person can be good and still be wrong for your future. A friend who no longer sharpens you is no longer a friend. They are a shadow attached to your progress, a weight that smiles while holding you still. And the longer you tolerate that weight, the more of your light they absorb. Machiavelli warned of the quiet ones, the ones who do not attack you, but who vanish in your triumph and appear only in your trouble. The ones who offer comfort when you fall, but disappear when you begin to rise. Or worse, they remain nearby, offering empty support while quietly directing doubt. The betrayal is not sudden, it is slow, it is measured. And it always comes from those who know you best, not because you trusted the wrong person, but because you gave them access, and what they could not create in themselves, they decided to weaken in you. That is why you must become both fox and lion. The lion can defend, but the fox knows when to disappear. Not with fury, not with confrontation, just the cold, clean cut of detachment. Power is not proven through noise, it is demonstrated through selection. When you leave without explanation, when you withdraw your presence without performance, you teach the world the one thing it fears most, that you are no longer seeking approval, that you no longer fear loneliness, that your clarity has become more sacred than their comfort. The three types of false friends all operate in the same way. They distract. They reroute your focus away from your path and toward their needs, their stories, their chaos, and you begin adjusting yourself. You shrink your ambition so they won't feel small. You downplay your success so they won't feel left behind. You hesitate to move forward because their approval feels heavier than your own regret. These are not small losses, they are fractures, and those fractures, left unchecked, will destroy even the most disciplined man. Machiavelli would call this what it is, a failure in judgment. Not because you were deceived, but because you were sentimental. You valued peace over clarity, you chose loyalty over logic, and you allowed access to continue long after value had disappeared. But that can change, because the mind is a palace, and who you allow through its gates will determine whether you live in strength or in sabotage. Every person in your circle is either reinforcing your walls or slowly drawing the blueprint for collapse. And when the moment comes, when you are no longer useful to their comfort, they will turn, not with rage, but with silence, with omission, with hesitation, a rumor here, an opportunity withheld there. A delay in support when you need it most. By the time you realize it, your foundation will already be cracking, so do not wait. Audit your circle like a strategist audits his defenses. Remove the weak, the unsure, the envious, the dependent, and do it without guilt. Because love corrupted by fear becomes a chain, and every day you keep these people near. You are not showing strength, you are avoiding pain, but there is no glory in dragging the dead weight of old alliances. You are not here to be understood, you are here to build, and the deeper you go into your purpose, the fewer voices should remain in your ear. Choose carefully and cut clearly. That is how rulers are made. 5. The strength of letting go. True strength is not found in how much you can carry, but in how much you are willing to set down. Power is not built through accumulation, but through refinement. The fewer distractions you allow, the clearer your direction becomes. The fewer fragile connections you maintain, the stronger your center grows. Machiavelli understood this with brutal clarity. A man becomes unshakable not by gathering crowds, but by choosing only those few who fortify his mission and removing the rest without hesitation. Every false friend you release is not a loss. It is a return of your time, your clarity, your peace. Imagine your life as a fortress. Each person within it is either reinforcing the structure or secretly weakening it. The silent competitor is the one who smiles while mirroring your path, quietly hoping for your stumble. The perpetual victim draws your energy away from your purpose, keeping you occupied in a cycle of dependency. And the shapeshifter is already inside, using your own voice and values until betrayal becomes more profitable. None of them can remain, because the threat they pose is not always direct. It is far more dangerous. They change you. They make you hesitant, cautious, uncertain. You begin questioning your instincts, dulling your decisions, softening your resolve. You exchange precision for over-explanation. You explain your worth instead of embodying it. That is how power fades, not with a single blow, but with the erosion of your edge. Machiavelli warned that power is never given. It must be claimed, and once claimed, it must be protected with vigilance, like a throne surrounded by serpents. You are not cruel for being selective. You are wise. You are not cold for walking away. You are composed. Weak minds will always label your silence as arrogance, your discernment as harshness. But the Stoic does not concern himself with noise. He concerns himself with necessity. And if removing someone from your circle is what your path demands, then it is not cruelty, it is clarity. The ones you cut off will not collapse. They will simply move on to others who tolerate what you no longer can. But you will breathe deeper, you will move faster, you will think with more force and act without apology, because this act of subtraction is not a punishment, it is liberation. You do not owe your presence to those who dilute your potential. You owe your best self to the world. And that self cannot emerge while surrounded by those who quietly sabotage your focus. Machiavelli believed that failure often arises not from a lack of talent, but from a failure in judgment, from keeping those near whose interests are not aligned. Even loyalty, when misaligned, can destroy a legacy. One misguided presence can erase years of discipline, so stop asking if your boundaries are too sharp. Start asking who is building your empire with you and who is quietly tearing at the stone. If someone is anchoring you to a version of yourself you've outgrown, the decision is already made. Delay only increases the cost. You rise not by pleasing, but by purifying. And purification demands that you become intolerant of anything that weakens your clarity. Observe without emotion, decide without delay, cut without regret. Because once you see the truth of who someone is, keeping them near is no longer their betrayal. It is yours. And that is a weight you can no longer afford to carry. 6. Power is born in solitude. There comes a point in every path to greatness where silence becomes more powerful than speech, where absence speaks more clearly than presence, when you finally cut someone off. It is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your clarity. Machiavelli understood that transformation does not happen without loss, not loss of strength or purpose, but of people, of attachments, of emotional entanglements that no longer align with your rise. The Stoics called it the discipline of separation. A man who seeks virtue cannot be afraid to part ways with what weakens his resolve. Sentiment is a fog that blurs judgment. It softens edges that were meant to cut through confusion. Machiavelli warned rulers to avoid this fog, because it makes them slow, hesitant, reactive, and hesitation, even once, can dismantle everything. If someone's presence forces you to question yourself, to shrink your truth, to dilute your voice, that is not a friend. That is an anchor wrapped in a smile. The world may call your departure harsh, but you are not here to be praised for kindness. You are here to become something rare, and rare requires space. A sharpened blade cannot be forged in a crowd. Comfort is the enemy of transformation. It masquerades as peace, but it slowly numbs urgency, discipline, and vision. You cannot build greatness in a garden overrun by weeds. To grow, you must clear the soil. That means unanswered messages. That means doors closed quietly, without explanation. You do not need to announce your decisions. You do not need to craft villains. The moment you feel the need to justify your presence, you are already in the wrong room. Watch who dims your fire when you speak, who makes your ambition feel excessive, who treats your goals like competition. These are not companions, these are distractions. If your instincts recoil when they speak, if your clarity fades when they are near, that is not uncertainty. That is nature sounding the alarm. Trust it. Cut early, cut clean, cut without applause, because what you gain is not just distance from them. What you gain is alignment with yourself. Yes, you may face solitude, but solitude is not emptiness. It is strength reorganizing itself. It is where your thoughts regain control, where your decisions become untangled, where your next chapter begins without interruption, and the right people, when they arrive, will not require an explanation. They will not fear your silence. They will recognize it, because they have lived it too, and they will sharpen your edge, not ask you to dull it. But they cannot enter until you stop giving room to those who no longer deserve to be in your presence. Your future is not built by dragging everyone forward. It is built by letting go. So let go and rise. You are not here to mend what refuses to grow. You are not a lifeline for those who drain you. You are the builder of something sacred. And every silent decision to walk away is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Let them wonder. Let them twist the story. That is no longer your concern. Your absence will say what words never could, and the ones who were only loyal to your presence will fade when your silence arrives. This is not about being cruel. It is about protecting what you are becoming. So, audit your circle. Move with precision and honor your clarity. If this spoke to you, hit subscribe and walk this journey of strength with us. Comment below with the words, "Let them talk," if you're ready to protect your energy. And remember this: the most powerful moment of your life may not be who you kept. It may be who you finally let go. The next video will take you even deeper.